The Autumn 2022 update is dropping for World of Warships Legends on Monday, the 29th of August. It's a gigantic update full of wonders and absolute horrors. I'll give you the highlights contained in the advanced draft of the patch notes that Wargaming sends me as a community contributor, but as always, a disclaimer. These advanced drafts might not contain certain information that makes it into the final public patch notes, and some minor details might be altered. Be sure to take a look at the patch notes yourself by following the link I left to them in the description. But I'll give you all the highlights that you need to know if you don't want to read the patch notes. So, first things first, an alternate line of German battleships is coming to early access. This is the German Battlecruiser line that I previewed in a video earlier this week featuring the Tier 10 German Battlecruiser Schlieffen from a PC game. You can expect to have early access to the new battleships from Tier 4 through Tier 7 this time, but the Tier 8 Prinz Ruprecht will not be available in early access crates in exactly the same way that Tier 7 ships were not available in past early access releases. The patch notes do confirm that the ships are, quote, all about advanced secondaries, end quote, and that is an encouraging sign, at least I think so. The patch notes also mention both torpedoes and sonar. They do not, however, mention the Soviet battleship damage controls, so I don't know if these battlecruisers will actually end up having them as they do on PC, but I suppose we will see come Monday. Note that the early access crates will be, well, actually we won't see come Monday, because the early access crates will be available starting September 1st, and that is not the day the update drops, which is, again, August 29th, Monday. Next up, though, we have the second ever Tier 8 campaign, and the reward ship is the Tier 8 IJN battleship Musashi, which is the sister ship to Yamato. The two gigantic boats both share the same gigantic 460mm gun caliber, which means that they both can overmatch 32mm of armor plating. So much for separating Tier 7 from the 32mm overmatch, I guess, since Musashi is now at Tier 8. I don't really know how I feel about that, but I imagine the battleship itself is going to be fantastic because, well, it's a down-tiered Yamato with the same overmatch. Now, the price for the Admiralty backing remains the standard 2,500 doubloons, so it still hasn't increased, and I kind of thought it might, so it's nice to see that it did not, and of course that price is sort of unbeatable. Tier 8 premium ship for 2,500 doubloons, and all the extra goodies you get for grinding the campaign, or if you're a whale, I suppose you could buy out the entirety of the campaign on day one. It'll cost you something like 19,000 doubloons, thereabouts. But moving on, we are going to see yet another Transformers collaboration. This time, we are getting legendary tier ship skins in the Transformers aesthetic. Although the patch notes don't specify which legendary tier ships will get these skins, they do, however, say that one such skin is coming for the Tier 8 Republique. The collaboration products will be available in the store from September 1st through October 3rd, and now for the horror. Two legendary tier aircraft carriers are making their debut as Bureau projects. That's right, it's the IJN Hakuryu and the USN carrier Midway. Both Bureau projects will be obtainable in the store for either credits or doubloons, although curiously the option to purchase the product for doubloons will be gone in the next update, and I take that to imply that presumably the option to buy them for credits will still remain, which is to say I bet they cost quite a few doubloons, and probably quite a few credits for that matter. I'm sure these carriers will be a great addition to Legendary Tier and will be implemented in such a way that they absolutely do not affect how much I enjoy playing at that tier if I play the Khabarovsk. But on to more news. 3 ranked seasons will happen in this update. The mobile version of the game will be released in Canada and the Philippines on September 5th, and there will be some sort of special in-game event called Majestic Days that, in the end, will reward you with the Majestic Tier 3 Premium British Battleship Agincourt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. All you've got to do to get the Agincourt is log into the game every day for the duration of this special Majestic event, and complete whatever tasks are in that event. I'm sure the tasks will be easy enough. But speaking of premium ships that are going to become available in this update, we are about to see the return of 2 ships I never thought we would see again. The Tier 7 premium cruisers Wichita and Kutuzov are returning to the game, or Kutuzov, as most everybody except me pronounces it. Kutuzov is the new Global XP ship, and it sounds like a nerfed version of the Wichita is actually what's going to be coming back to the store, presumably for doubloons. I don't know, it doesn't say, but the patch notes do say that the game design team and many people in the community thought and continue to think that Wichita is a little bit too strong. So, when it comes back to the game, it's going to come back in a slightly nerfed form, as something they're calling a, quote, collector's edition ship. Wichita is said to be the first of these collector's edition ships, I guess, and both Summers and Mines, according to the notes, might get the same collector's treatment in the near future, although they might also not get that treatment. Who knows? They could be removed from the list of potential candidates. That is literally what the patch notes says, or that's literally what the patch notes say, which is really odd that they would put something that sounds so uncertain in there. Maybe that'll be out of the final version, or maybe it'll be more dialed in. Who knows? I'm sure you can tell me in the comments. As for premiums that don't already exist, though, I mentioned the Tier 3 British Battleship Premium, but we'll also see the debut of the Tier 7 Premium British Cruiser Plymouth, which apparently has 16 AP-only guns. I assume these are light 152mm guns. It's also got 2 quad torpedo launchers and an extremely strong consumable suite boasting access to sonar, radar, and smoke. I am intrigued, to say the least, because that is a lot of guns and a fundamentally overpowered combination of consumables, and I know next to nothing about this ship beyond the words that I just spoke about it, but, well, on to the balance changes, I suppose. Des Moines. It's getting a nerf. It's getting half a second nerf to its reload, a roughly 400-point reduction in both its HE and AP Alpha, and a 10-second reduction to its 40-second radar. So there you go, there's the Des Moines nerf, and the inexplicably placed Belfast 43 at Tier 7 is getting some buffs that hopefully will make it seem more like it should actually be at Tier 7. These buffs include a full second less on the gun reload time, an increased fire chance from 9% to 11%, and a 5-second increase to its smoke generator duration time. Also, Pyotr Bagration gets a 1-second buff to its reload, an extra 1k HP, and the radar consumable added to its 4th slot. And then, for some reason, the entire Pan-European destroyer line, minus the Osterjotland, is getting some various buffs to main battery reload times, torpedo reload times, and in one case, even its hit points. Scone is getting 1,000 extra hit points, I guess. Apparently, these ships have proven to be, quote, somewhat underwhelming in terms of battle contribution, because as the patch notes say, they have a bit of a steep learning curve. I would put it in different terms. I think the reason that these must be getting a buff is because the average destroyer player in the spreadsheet is pathologically incapable of properly driving any destroyer that is not the Shimakaze, and most of the time can't even manage that. Well, that's my theory. At least you can let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully I'm not being too harsh or ruffling any feathers. But I don't know why these pan-European destroyers required a buff, but I guess they are getting them. Clearly, though, Östergötland does not require a buff. Everybody knows that. It is not getting a buff, just the lower tier ones. Anyway, that is all there's really left to say about the patch notes, except for the usual miscellaneous bug fixes and improvements, none of which seem worth highlighting to me, but we can end with the haiku that Wargaming wrote in the patch notes. Ahem. A storm is brewing. Metal. Power. Honor. Unleash Musashi. And now, a haiku composed by yours truly. Raise the thumb. Click red. Increase subscriber count, please. And a fond farewell.